Welcome to the Strategy Sherpa Show, a series of organic discussions between hosts David Chavez and a variety of notable business leaders centered around their most significant failures and how they handled those challenges, so listeners can learn from their most teachable moments and apply the lessons to their organizations. Now, here's your host, David Chavez.
Hey, everyone. This is David Chavez, and I have a show for you today. I have Benji Harris with me, and in the background, you're hearing some music, and that's Benji at his best right there. Hey, Benji, why don't you share with us this song? This is Find Yourself at Chainley in Chicago.
Yeah, that's a song I wrote for a summer camp that I went to as a kid. It's called Chile, and it's a 27-day experience in the mountains for kids to get away from everything and hike and ride horses and backpack through the Rocky Mountains. And David, they don't see a screen for 27 days, so it's kind of a complete detox from the real world and get to be in this community with other kids and be challenged every day. It's beautiful.
Well, what a beautiful song. I've listened to it several times now, a couple times, but actually about 3 days ago, I got on and found some of your music because I know you're really talented. And I just looked on Spotify because I knew if he's out there, he's on Spotify. So got on Spotify and started listening to some of your music. It's pretty freaking incredible. So
thank you. I worked really hard on it.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. And let me tell everybody, Benji Harris is one of Nashville's most talented musicians. He had his original trio, Scarletta. Am I saying that correctly? Scarletta?
Nailed it.
Okay. Has had top 30 hit on the country radio stations. And you've been on country music TV. You've toured all across the country in country bands, I guess, supporting them. And then you've been on the Today Show, Good Morning America. And then you got a little bit of fun on the Late Night with Seth Meyers. So then you've performed for a lot of Fortune 500 companies, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah. I sort of transitioned from being a touring musician in the music business into using music to bring corporate America together, to bond companies together and help them work better together.
Yeah, well, share with us what you do a little bit, like what exactly is that you do to help them build themselves together.
Yeah, so I'm part of a company called SongDivision, and what SongDivision does is we use music to engage people, because music gets everybody feeling the same thing all at the same time. It doesn't really matter where the people in the room are from or what positions they are in the company or even what languages they speak if they're a global company. Music gets everyone feeling the same thing at the same time. So what we do is we come into these events and we use that feeling everyone's feeling to team build. So one approach that we do is we write a song with them where they actually work on song lyrics together and they get to perform it with a band. So it becomes this cathartic moment of, oh my gosh, we just did something we've never done before. We wrote a song together. And we also can help summarize the key messages, whatever they're supposed to be learning. We use music to help them remember whatever they're supposed to be learning. And then, of course, in the evenings, we help them party. You know, we become the party bands and get them on stage singing with us. But so music as this engagement tool.
Oh, that's great. And what you're doing is, I think a lot of this builds a lot of team camaraderie and spirit core inside of the company where people really are connected to it emotionally too, because music just brings us together emotionally.
It really does. You know, it triggers emotions. It can trigger joy. For me as a songwriter, if I ever got a tear, if I could get someone in the audience if they're wiping away a tear, I'm saying, all right, I got him. I wrote it right. So we're not actually trying to make our audiences, cry, but we're trying to give them this moment that they created together where they don't have to be musical at all. We do all the musical heavy lifting, but we encourage them to participate and give them a little taste of what it feels like to be in a rock and roll band.
Yeah, that's really cool. And when I first came across your company, I met your CEO Andy, And he told me what he did. And I'm a scaling up coach, and he's actually done some work with scaling up on a larger sense before. But when he started, I had never come across it, just because at the time, maybe when he was presenting and telling us about what you guys did, I was not there. And I ended up running into him and meeting him. And when I learned of what you guys did, I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, these guys could put music to core values, purpose, BHAG, the things that really build clarity inside of a company to help people keep the direction that the company really wants to go. Right. And so I was really excited when I met you guys, and then getting involved in meeting you, because I'm sharing a client with you right now, is just really powerful.
It really is, you know, and what I love most about it is that it works every single time. Very often when we explain what our concept is, what our approach is to new clients, sometimes they're a little weary, and sometimes they're like, wait, we're going to do what with a band? I don't know how that's going to work. But once they take that leap of faith with us, David, and we're on stage with them, and then the program gets going, you can feel the energy light up in the room.
Yeah.
And where we go from the first minute we're on stage, when people's eyes are wide and they're saying, oh God, we're going to do what? To fast forward 59 minutes later and they're literally crowd surfing. You know, it's a pretty amazing change. And so I always love the post-event debrief we have where they say, you were right. It worked. It was awesome. So it's really satisfying for me as a host who gets to deliver these kind of programs.
Yeah. And when I first met you, Andy shared with me a song you had produced for a gentleman who was retiring from your company. And you had put together, and Andy sends it to me and says, hey, this is the kind of talent we have. This guy put this together in just a few hours. And I listened to it and I was like, this is amazing. So I was just really impressed by what you can do. And I could not conceptualize it until Andy told me it only took you a couple hours to put this together. And I was like, oh my goodness, these guys just have a talent for this. Like they could just take a few words and just make music out of it.
Yeah, it's sort of the songwriter muscle that we've developed over 20 plus years of doing this and studying songs and seeing how you can put a lot of information into 4 lines. You know, I feel like it's every challenge for a songwriter if you can paint a huge picture, you know, give so much information and so much emotion and so much meat to a story, but you do it in 4 lines and in about 27 syllables max. You know, that becomes the challenge. So when Andy reached out about, can you write a song about this gentleman? That's the approach I took is I had this information on him, and so I just pulled little bits out of it and tried to make it feel emotional.
Yeah, it was very emotional. I thought it was a real honor to him. But hey, this is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and what we do on this show is we get business leaders on to talk about decisions we made at the time just seemed so wonderful. We were at the highlight of our moment. We made these decisions and then just everything went wrong. And then it turned out to be one of those decisions where we're just shaking our head, asking ourselves, why did I do that? And then we shared how we got out of that situation or how we tried to fix it the best that we could, because we want people to understand that growing a business out there is failures are part of the success, right? That we learn a lot from those things. And I know you have a great story to share, so I'll let you start sharing a little bit about it. So what was your decision that got you a little bit in a space where you didn't really want to be?
Right. Well, first of all, I think mistakes are a good thing because they're those teaching moments. And even though they're pretty tough during the time it's going wrong, when you have that perspective later, you can look back on it and say, wow, I learned a couple very valuable lessons, and I'm never going to do that again. So here's what happened. So part of what my job is to connect with these companies and connect with these meeting planners as they're planning these multi-day big corporate conferences and events. And they come to us and they ask, how can we make this cool? How can we make this fun, entertaining, engaging? And we present ideas. And then we help bring it to life. In this particular situation, my first mistake was letting the client control the creative. They already had this whole idea mapped out in their mind of what they wanted to do. And they came to us and said, this is what we want to do. Can you do it? And where my first mistake was, I should have said, well, in our experience, this approach might not go so well. What if we did this? I think I was relatively young in the company. I think I'd been with the company maybe a couple of years. What they wanted to do was do this big classical music piece where they had a really difficult piano part that they had, this piano song they had found. And honestly, David, I think AI generated this piece because it was next to impossible to play. But they wanted a classical pianist to come out and perform this piece and have all these other musicians be emerging from the stage, adding to it, adding bits and pieces, and it all goes along with this video. So I know a lot of musicians and I know a lot of classical music friends. And so where I should have started, I should have said, you know, maybe we go a rock and roll approach rather than this classical approach. But in that situation, I was sort of being a yes man. So that was my first mistake.
Right.
So
I've never done that myself.
Right. It's easy sometimes when they're excited about an idea, you just want to go along and keep that excitement going, especially if you're in sales like me. You're just trying to move the deal forward, if you will.
Yep.
So in my silliness, I said, yeah, we can do that. So I essentially said yes, and then the task was, now I got to figure out how to do this. So there was a very short turn time. I think we had maybe 3 weeks total to get this staffed, to get this designed, to get this mapped and ready to go. So I resorted to our good friend, the internet, to find, classical musicians based in Phoenix. And so I got Googling, I got an Instagram, and I started asking musician friends, and I got directed to this gentleman who was a really well put together guy. He had a whole jazz trio full of really great musicians. I looked at their videos, they were great. I even had a chat with him. He's the guitar player, but we got to talking about the piano player we're gonna need for this thing. And he said, my guy is amazing. He can play anything. If he's got sheet music, he can do it. And I said, cool, let's do it. So we booked this gentleman, this classical musician, to come perform this song. And my second mistake is I never actually met the guy who was going to be our guy on stage. Yeah, mistake number 2 right there. So I was sort of working through a middleman, if you will. And so when it came time for this event for the rehearsal, I was delivering another event. I couldn't be there, so I sent one of our other gentlemen to be our on-site contact and produce this whole thing. When they got together the evening before the rehearsal, my producer calls me and says, this guy can't play. Like, this guy can't do it. And so the alarm bells start going off. And so he swears up and down, all right, I'll go back. I'll study the sheet music. I'll be able to execute it by tomorrow. Well, the next day arrives the official sound check. All of the company leadership are there. And this guy not only is an hour late, throwing off the whole day, he shows up and he's loud, he's vulgar, he's cussing on the microphone in front of all of the leadership. And then he says on the mic, this thing's impossible to play. This is not playable. So essentially, the whole rehearsal went down in flames in front of everybody.
This is right before the event.
This is the day before it's time to do it the next morning. We're talking maybe, 15 hours from showtime. The whole piano thing can't go down. So I'm getting emergency calls. I'm literally backstage emceeing, and I'm on the phone with my producer trying to work out a solution. And so the solution, do you want me to talk about how we fixed it, or should we save that for the next one?
Yeah. You know what? I appreciate you asking that question, because right now it's probably a great time to jump into a break. So let me just share with everybody. We have Benji here, and he's going to be talking a little bit more. Just wanted to take this moment and Welcome everybody back to the show. I've been gone for about 3 weeks. I took a little vacation and we've been rerunning some shows. And so I'm excited about this live show. We'll be right back right after these messages. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
Hey everyone, this is David Chavez and I have Benji Harris here with me, and he is from a company called the Song and he was right in the middle of sharing his faux pas. so Benji, let's just bring you back to where you were. You were about to tell us that this gentleman that you hired to help you with this classical piece, and he was the pianist, and he showed up the day of the event or the day before the event to do a demonstration for the leadership team of how everything was going to work, because they wanted to make sure the production was flawless. And I'll let you take it from here.
Exactly. So we had hired this gentleman essentially sight unseen. We had met his band leader who swore up and down he was amazing. This gentleman shows up and he can't pull it off. And not only can he not pull off the piece, he's just being not corporate appropriate. He's swearing on the mic. He's an hour late. He's just having a bad attitude and just sending bad vibes across the whole room. So essentially that hour-long rehearsal that should have been an hour, but it was over 2.5 hours because there was just so much chaos this one guy was creating. That whole rehearsal ended and nothing got done. And this session is supposed to be, 10 hours later in the morning. So the solution we came to was the only thing we can do is we can put we put a pre-recorded piano track into the video, and he's going to go up there and just pantomime like he's actually playing it. Luckily, he was on a grand piano that had it was a shell of a grand piano that had a keyboard, so we just turned off the keyboard and he could press down the keys and it really looked like he was playing. So that's what we ended up having to do, is put in a track for him to mime to, which anybody could have really done. So it made us look like we don't know who we're hiring, and the people that we do hire are no good. And so the good news about this story is that come the event day, the gentleman came out there, sat down, fake played it to perfection. The rest of these classical musicians came out. They did their piece. And so this whole 5-minute classical opener, it went off without a hitch, and the audience was none the wiser. They thought it was amazing. They thought, oh, this is incredible, but he's really pantomiming on the piano. But the damage in that situation had already been done. All of the leadership and everyone that was there the day before knew that it was a disaster. It was tough.
And for you not to physically be there so you could help manage the situation was probably even more stressful on you, because you set this whole thing up and then you're not there.
Exactly. Sometimes I wish I could clone myself so I could just be in 2 places at once. I was literally hosting another event in Orlando at the time. I'm emceeing it, and I'm backstage fielding texts, and I'm taking off my headset mic to get on the phone, talking with our on-site producer. So it was a challenge not being there to be the guy to say, this is my screw up. My poor producer who was there on site essentially had to take the blame in person and all of the dirty looks he was getting.
Yeah. So how did you guys fix this for the client? Because I'm sure this was not what they wanted. It ended up going off okay. They probably were happy with the end result, but at the same time, the stress that you caused them, they probably weren't happy about that. And so what ended up happening?
Yeah, so the first way we fixed it was coming up with the track solution and getting that all sorted pretty quickly to where we could run it once before it happened that morning, and it looked great and went off well. So that was the first thing we did. The second thing we did is this client up front. With this client, that just with their policies, they gave us a 50% deposit with 50% due after the event. One way we made that better was we said, do not pay that second invoice. Like, we do not deserve that. Keep your money. And then the third way we helped sort that was we called the gentleman back, the band leader who gave us this guy. And we said, you got to send that money back. I mean, come on. So which he completely understood. He sent that money back, which we passed on back to the client. So that helped ease the blow. And of course, we were as apologetic and as one could be. This has never happened. I've been in SongDivision for over 5 years. This has never happened to where a musician showed up not prepared. So it was a sort of a first time for everything, but boy, did it happen. And boy, did I feel pretty bad about it.
Yeah. But so what's the valuable lesson that you have out of this? Because you're out talking to these people all the time, and I'm sure that they come to you with ideas. And so what are the 2 or 3 things that you really got a value out of this?
Yeah. I think the first valuable lesson I got out of it is, the old phrase of don't try to stick a square peg in a round hole. I feel like they were asking me to do that, and me rather than saying, this is a square and this is a circle, they don't fit, this doesn't make sense, I said, sure, we'll make it fit, we'll grease it up and we'll get it in there. So that was the first thing, is not speaking up soon enough with maybe some of these red flags going off, right? Or these warning lights. I think the second thing I learned is that we need to, if we're hiring a musician we've never hired before, first things first, I need to meet that exact person, not that person's boss. And I also, I need a demonstration. I need to say, if you film yourself actually playing this piece, not just take your word that you can pull it off. Me being in Nashville, the musicianship here is so off the charts. I mean, everyone is amazing here. And so I've been sort of spoiled the past 16 years of being here, where if a musician says, yeah, I can play that guitar solo, or I got this thing, 10 times out of 10, I would say they can do it. So I think maybe some of that got in the way of, I'm used to a certain level of caliber and quality, and I just assume that's the same everywhere. And so I think those 3 lessons are what I learned: vetting, speaking up earlier in the creative process, and not forcing things.
Yeah, I could definitely see how you could make that mistake. I live here in Austin, and the musical talent here is much different, even different than Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, a lot of the music talent was transitory. They actually live here, and so they're just readily available. And it's really cool. Like, even on the news here, some of the news, they usually have a live band every day at the end of the news that's just jamming for a little bit. So what other city would you get that in? So I just think it's super cool. And I definitely understand what you would think, like, because you're in Nashville and you have so much talent available, how you could just fall into, they'll do a good job. They'll do what they're supposed to.
And I, at least for me, I know that if someone asked me to come, play Eruption by Van Halen on stage, I'd say that might be a little bit out of my ability level. Maybe you go find the guitar shredder guy. I'm not that guy. I think I would speak up and say something about that. But the fact that this guy said, oh yeah, sure, I got it. That maybe that should have been another red flag of, like, are you sure about that? This thing's pretty hard. But just the confidence that was exuded to us through his boss made us feel like, okay, this guy seems confident.
So this same scenario has come up again, probably, where a client's trying to dictate to you how the show is going to go. How do you handle that now? What do you do to make sure they understand? Sorry.
Yeah, I think what I've learned is that sometimes standing your ground and just relying on your own experience. For instance, there was an awards show that I hosted and had a live band on stage. And this client was adamant that as each award winner was announced, that they play this 3.5-minute video with horrible audio, and it's just a giant, David, it was a giant singular frame just full of text minuscule text that the audience would have to squint to read. And so they really wanted this. And so they sent me one of these videos and I played it. And I said, guys, I have to be honest with you, I couldn't make it through one. It was rough. And they pushed back and they said, well, this is really important content. And so kind of where we had to land was I just said, you're coming to us for our expertise and for our experience on how to make this event be entertaining. And I always circle back to their pain. I say, what is your pain? What are you trying to accomplish here? They say, well, the awards has been boring in the past. We want it to be different and fun. And I say, well, if you want it to be different and fun, we cannot have these videos. That's going to suck all the fun out of the room. I couldn't make it through one, and you want to play 13 of these. So it becomes a bit of an equal business stature that you have to establish, especially early on, even in the initial conversations of you're coming to us because we have expertise in this field. And even though you may think that's what you want, let us advise you in this situation. So that's where I've really changed is I speak up if something feels wrong, something feels not possible, something feels like a possible disaster in the making. I'm going to say something and I'll put up a stink for a little bit, because that's why you're bringing us in.
Yeah, it's probably better to lose the customer, isn't it, than to try to do something that you can't deliver on.
Exactly. And I think that's sort of that balance that I've had to find, me being in sales, of course, we want business. That's right. That's why we're here. But if it's the wrong kind of deal, or if it's going to possibly put our reputation at risk, it's better to say, you know what, I don't think we're the right fit. If this is the vision you're wanting, I don't think we're the right fit for this. And I've had to tell clients that where if they were sending us in a direction that was not what we're all about, I've had to walk away from conversations and just say, I wish you the best. I hope it goes great, but I don't think we're the right fit. And it's hard to do.
It's really hard to do because you're trying to grow your company, you're trying to be a good steward of the company, and your job is to create the business, and then you're telling people that you just can't help them. What else? The other takeaway that I think I have from this too is that we need to make sure we put people through the vetting process, no matter who they are, no matter what the circumstances are. We have to follow our rules around vetting.
Right. And I think it applies, if not just to music, anywhere in business. You want to make sure that person you're putting in a position, even if they say they got it, there needs to be some steps to ensure that they've shown in the past they've been handed this level of responsibility, they were successful with it, and whatever vetting or I don't want to say the word tests, but whatever of those barometers of quality that your business looks for, they need to check all of those boxes before they get handed the keys, if you will.
Yeah. So Benji, I appreciate you being on the show. We have one more segment left with you. And in this next segment, because we're going to take a break right now because it's time. But when we come back, I want you to sort of share with the audience a little bit about what you do at SongDivision and sort of walk them through. And I think you have a little bit of a thing to share with us. So we're going to take a break. This is Strategy Sherpa Show. We're here with Benji Harris with the SongDivision, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
Hey, everyone. This is David Chavez, and this is the Strategy Sherpa Show. I'm here with Benji Harris, and Benji is with the SongDivision, a company that helps companies bring team building to life and also helps them create their messaging in songs. So Benji, let's take this last segment just because we talked about your pain that you went through and that was great. But let's talk a little bit about what you guys do at the SongDivision.
Yeah, so we've been around for over 20 years. We're the global leader in music-based interactive programming for Fortune 500 companies and the meetings and events company. And the way I like to explain what we do is that we are, at the end of the day, we're a people engagement company. We want these people to bond together because we believe company culture is everything, right? It's everything in any organization. And we want to make sure that company culture is healthy and that company culture is being brought to life. And the way that we do it is with music. Just like I explained in one of those earlier segments today, David, music makes everybody feel the same thing at the same time. And it's a really powerful teaching tool. It's been used for trainings. And then that's why we teach our toddlers the ABC song. You know, it's hard to teach a 3-year-old a 26-character alphabet, but if you give it to them in a song, they're going to remember it forever. I mean, I still know my ABC song.
If I ever watch one of those, you know, those drunk shows or something like that, where somebody's being tested for driving and they ask them to do the alphabet, they always start to sing the song.
That's exactly right.
So they can actually recall it.
Yeah.
So and it's funny you say it that way.
It works for toddlers, but it works for grown-ups too. It's the same triggers in your brain. It sticks. So we use music to drive home whatever they're supposed to be learning. This could be, maybe it's a reminder of what our company is all about. We could write a song about your core values. Or we could dive a little bit deeper of maybe there's some new sales strategies, maybe these 3 or 4 approaches we're going to take. We're going to write a song about it. So what makes us very different in this kind of world is that all of us as hosts, we're professional touring musicians. You know, we've been in the music business. I started when I was 12. I was playing birthday parties with my high school band, and then we went all the way through, and then I was a touring guitar player for country stars, living on a bus and touring arenas. So your hosts for these experiences are always these legit musicians that are talented but have these major credits to their name. So there's automatically this cool factor that is sort of established right away. So I explain what we do in 3 buckets. The first bucket of what we do is how we bring people together, our team building approach. And this is where we can work with an entire audience of people. This could be 10 people. This could be 10,000 people in an arena. But we teach them how to write a song, and everything is interactive. So we might call someone up on stage to give us a chord or 2 on a guitar, and those become the chords of the song. We vote on a style by like applause-o-meter, or people can vote on their phones. So we're getting chords, we're getting a style, and then we teach them how to write lyrics. And I might see if I can play Weatherman for you live right here, David, on your radio show. We have this great little template. It goes like this. To see if you can come up with a couple of lines that rhyme, we give them 10 minutes, and that's where the room goes crazy for a minute. They're talking to each other, they're writing their lines. We go out in the audience, we source the lyrics, and then we get to end the session with a big performance using only crowdsourced lyrics that becomes their anthem. So that's our team building approach. Sometimes when we're working with sales teams, we can split them up into groups. And each group writes their own song because they're competitive, of course, they're in sales. And then we have a battle of the bands to see which becomes the winning song. So that's one side of what we do. We write songs to bring everybody together. Second thing we do is, because we're performers, right? We like being on stage. I like talking in the microphone. We host these general sessions. We make sure that these 3-hour opening general sessions aren't just death by PowerPoint of just next slide, next speaker. We host it with a live band. So we're playing people on and off stage. We're doing energizers to keep people awake, you know, playing game show rounds. We write walk-on songs for the speakers, custom walk-on songs. So our job is just to make those fun, make those entertaining. And then when we do these multi-day events, where sometimes there's an opening reception and a kickoff and a general session and then a party, we also, because they've maybe written a song with us on day 1, on day 3, when it's the awards gala and the party, it's the same band. So the audience says, oh my gosh, it's the same people we worked with yesterday. And we become the interactive party band. People are much more inclined to want to dance, to want to come up on stage and lead sing with the band. So we're just sort of this glue over a few days to make sure everything fits together and everyone's having fun.
Well, it's really cool. So like if you take those team anthems or whatever you're calling them, and you're doing that with them. Then when it's time to just be the band and play some music so they can enjoy themselves, getting them probably up on stage is probably pretty easy because they're not intimidated by you guys at all.
Exactly. It's super easy. And we go even a little bit farther, David. We like to eat meals with them. If we're on site with them for a few days, we'll get in the buffet line and we'll hang out, and they'll get to ask questions to us about, so who have you played with, and what's this famous artist like? Is he a nice guy? So we establish these connections already, and then when we are the entertainment, there's no wall between us and them now. They know us, they've had meals with us, and they're a lot more inclined to get up on stage, and just, that's where the photo ops come in. That's where the event photographer really gets the magic. Because when we open up the stage for karaoke, sometimes our second set will be, you guys are in the band now. They can choose a hit song, then they come up and hidden talents get revealed. So it's so much fun to get to, deliver these kind of experiences at these events and see the impact that music has on company culture. They go home knowing each other a little bit better, and I think that's important.
Well, where from my standpoint, from my selfish standpoint of what I do for a living, I just think that this could be so powerful. I would tell you that when companies get their core values completed and their purpose and their BHAG, I would tell you, once they start to roll it out to the company, it could take a year to a year and a half before it really gets a hold in the company, where people really start knowing these core values, right? Really start knowing them. You could probably shorten that by months just with the song.
Yeah.
Right. And that's pretty amazing in my book. If that's the result you guys have with a lot of these things, building these themes, I just think it's probably one of those things that, why would you not try to use this service to help you get what you're trying to get much quicker?
Completely. It solidifies their identity in an hour, because we've put these core values in a catchy way, so they'll be driving home or flying home on the plane still humming the song, innovation, we're celebrating, it's there forever. So that's right. It's fun to have found this formula that helps stick in people's minds.
How did you find the Song Division?
They sort of found me. It was, I want to say, maybe 12, 13 years ago. I got a call out of the blue from a musician friend of mine that said, hey, there's this company called SongDivision. They're doing an event in Nashville. They asked me, and I can't do it. Benji, would you want to be the band for this? So I said, sure. So I rounded up my friends and we became the band. And that was my first time I saw what this thing is. I was just essentially a hired musician while a SongDivision core member hosted. And I remember being on stage with my guitar and just watching, being like, this is new. I've never seen anything like this before. So over the years, anytime there was something in Nashville, they would call me and I would do the same thing. I would just provide the band. But then around 2019, Andy, our mutual friend, Andy Sharp, our founder at SongDivision, he and his family were passing through Nashville, and he said, I've never met you. Let's just go have coffee. And so we had coffee and chatted for a good while. And the next day he said, do you want to, if you're looking to do something different, if you're tired of being on the road, which I was at that time, he said, why don't you come work for us? You explain what we do to people, and then, we'll teach you how to host, and you could just host it and sell. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. So yeah. It was a perfect timing. I was ready to be out of touring and do something a little bit different, but I didn't want to put down my guitar. That was the big thing. And so I couldn't believe this company even existed. It feels like the promised land for any musician, getting to use our talents to do some good in the world.
Well, that's why I was so interested in having you on the show today, Benji, because when I found out what you guys do, because like I said, I'd met Andy and he didn't do any music. Then I heard your music, and then you and I have been talking a little bit on a client I'm introducing you to, and I just was like, what a great idea to have you come on the show and tell about what you do, because even if a client has been a client a long time ago, would they never got a song, I think it would be well worth their investment to give you a call and to look up the Song Division on songdivision.com. And you're right on there as part of who we are. And they can find you there and then get a hold of you and maybe have you help them put their core values, purpose, and be hacked to music.
Absolutely. I love explaining what we do because it's so different. And I feel like it's really easy to, have passion about something if you've seen the impact and you know that it works. And I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times by now of the atmosphere in the room when we start to when we end. It's a night and day change, and that momentum carries on once they leave, once they go home, once they go back to work. It sticks with them, and they always remember that time. Do you remember when we wrote this anthem with a rock band? That was amazing. And it becomes this water cooler conversation where the impact lasts for years. And we record the songs too, so they can go back and they can listen to the studio recording as if it's like a radio ready song. They can always be reminded of that moment.
Yeah, I could use it in my training and onboarding of new employees. I just see I could use it at every event, start playing it, and everybody starts singing along. It's just there's so many uses. And I'm so glad to have the opportunity to meet you and meet Andy too. And I just love what you guys are doing. I think my reaction was the same as yours when I met Andy and he told me what his business does. I was like, are you serious? You actually do this? And it was very fascinating to me. And I just, I think it's an honor to meet you too. So I look forward to working with you guys in the future. And I look forward to having you help some of my clients with getting to know some of their material and to create that spirit accord that a lot of them are trying to develop inside of their company.
Well, we're happy to help. It's a really powerful approach, and it's been awesome getting to know you, David. Looking forward to working with you more in the future, and thanks for inviting me on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And you and I will be in touch. And I look forward to listening to some more of your music. Also, you can find Benji on Spotify. So please don't be shy. Go over there and check him out over there first. I think that's what I did right after we talked the very first time. And I was just fascinated by some of his music. And it's amazing music, Benji. So really, really great job. So
thank you so much. Yeah, check me out and check out songdivision.com.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Benji. Well, this is a Strategy Sherpa Show, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
Hey everyone, this is David Chavez and this is Strategy Sherpa Show. This is the wind down session and just wanted to go over some of the powerful lessons that Benji had for us. I think about his lessons and there was a couple of different lessons in here. Sometimes when you're going fast, it ends up causing you to lose focus of what you're really trying to achieve. And also, I think that we have processes that we build along the way, and we have to follow those processes. Sometimes we get in a hurry and we don't follow them the way that we know we need to follow them. So there was a couple of things that happened here. The customer came to Benji and they wanted him to do something he could not really see working. And instead of doing what he knew he probably needed to do, and that was probably advise the client, because he has the wisdom and experience of these events. He does a lot of them. And the client was trying to dictate what was going to happen. And unfortunately, their vision of what was going to happen probably wasn't the best thing that would functionally work the way they wanted it to work. And so not saying it was a bad idea, it just probably couldn't work the way they wanted it to work. And he didn't speak up and say something. And I think a lot of us, when we're selling, sometimes we get into these modes of, I can help, I can help, I can help. And sometimes we have to say, hey, maybe it's not a good fit. And I think Benji summarized that really well in the second segment. He really explained that he probably should have compromised the client and just shared with them what could work. And I think that that's really important, because a lot of times when we go into companies, assured strategy, and we're working with them, the functional roles that get along the best are sales and operations. Benji is a little bit of both in both sales and operations, but it's where sales is selling stuff that we don't even sell at this company. And then it becomes a very challenging thing to try to deliver what the salesperson sold that we don't deliver. And we want to make sure that we're selling what we actually deliver to the clients, because each time we don't, then we create a problem for ourselves. And today, in the world of reviews and things like that, that could really jeopardize your reviews. I think the second thing that Benji talked about that was really important was to put people through the vetting process. And, like he was talking about, he talked to the band leader. The band leader said, this guy is amazing. He went off of those recommendations from somebody that he never even met before. And so, I think that this one time he did this will remind him to go do those extra few steps. Who is this band? Who is this band member that's going to help us? Can this band member play the music for us and record it and send it back to us so we can actually see the music being played and listen to it? Those are things that he jumped over, and it cost him big time. And I can tell you that I've done the same thing before. I think many of you listening today have done the same thing in the past. And these are things that get us in trouble big time usually. And it's usually never fun trying to clean up these messes later on either. So wanted to go through some of the things about Assured Strategy. At Assured Strategy, what we do is we help businesses move from the small to the mid stage. And in that transition from the small to the mid stage, I have to get out of micromanaging every little thing that's going on in my business. And I need to start planning my business out and then executing on that plan so that I can get closer to some result I'm looking for in the future. And if you think about this, like if I have a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, a 10-year goal that's 10 to 25 years out, reinforces your business fundamentals, challenges the way that you're thinking, and really should scare the hell out of you when you set it. If you think about those goals that are way out there, how do I work on them today? That's what we help people connect that with. And we give them a system that they can work called Scaling Up. And it's inside of a book that was written by Vern Harnish. The first one was Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, which was just re-released last October. So it's a new version of the book, and we're going to keep it up to date. I think Vern's working on just keeping it up to date all the time now. And it's a real quick read for entrepreneurs who, they don't like to read textbook type of books. Then in 2014, there's a book called Scaling Up that came out, and that was the second edition of the Rockefeller Habits. And Mastering the Rockefeller Habits is the overarching system. And the Scaling Up system is the process we go through to help you learn how to plan out your company and the disciplines around that, how to work with people a little bit better, make sure you have the right people on the bus. I would tell you that probably one of our greatest challenges at Assured Strategy is going into a leadership team and realizing some of the leaders on the team may not have the capacity to take the company to the next level that the entrepreneur wants to take it to, and helping the entrepreneur have to deal with maybe making some of those replacements on their leadership team. So that's what we do in a general sense. We also do, we have a pretty intense leadership training program that we put middle leaders through. It's a year-long program. And what we try to do with this program is get the clients to make it their own. So we actually help the clients implement this into their company so that they can continue to do it even after we're gone. So it's a really valuable resource. Those are just a few of the things that we do. We offer many other services. And this September 12th, in just a few weeks, one of my partners, Ted Servata, is going to be doing Transforming Dreaded Meetings into Productive Powerhouses. And he's going to be talking about how we mess meetings up and how to make them more productive and get what you really want out of them. I would tell you, leaders often complain about meetings to us and tell us that they have too many meetings. the reason you're complaining about meetings isn't because you have too many meetings. It's because the meetings aren't effective. And this webinar is going to focus on how to make them more effective. Then on the 17th of September, Ted and I are both going to be doing a scaling up workshop in Denver, Colorado. And we're going to be doing that downtown at the Hyatt Regency. And we're looking at teaching the scaling up system and giving a basic overview so that you can understand the scaling up system and you can start to work some of the tools and plan out your company. So if you're a mid-sized company and you're looking to grow, great opportunity for you. And then on the 26th of September, Warren Steger, one of our coaches, is going to be doing strategic pricing for profit. He's going to be talking about pricing and the complication of pricing. Pricing is not easy. And as we all know, and especially if you're in the service type of business, and he's going to be talking about how you can do that. You know, at Assured Strategy, if you get on assuredstrategy.com, we have resources on here, and we also offer a free business valuation. So I would say everyone needs to know their value, and we're offering it right on our website for free. Just get on there, put in a few numbers, and it'll tell you what your business is roughly worth. If you want to get a little more detailed information, it'll give you the opportunity to put in a little bit more detailed information and get a little tighter number. So if you're interested in learning about what your business is worth, then I would strongly advise you to get on there. And you should really track this every year. It's sort of like your balance sheet number. How much am I worth right now? How much is my investment worth in my business? This is Strategy Sherpa Show. This is David Chavez, and I appreciate you joining us. And thank you, Benji, for the great show today. And we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. We'll be back next week. Have a great week, everyone.